Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Wallace Waddell says the desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People are always seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, more life. Every living thing, every living thing is under the necessity for continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, disillusion and death set in at once. People instinctively know this, and hence they are forever seeking more. What Wallace Wattles is talking about is evident. Look around you, consider sports. If people are running, they want to run faster. And if they're jumping, they want to jump higher. In sales, people want to sell more. Companies are forever trying to improve the bottom line of their financial statements. They're not interested in holding the line, they want to improve it. That is without question the natural urge of life, the natural urge of life seeking expression. It's not selfish for you to want more. Everyone wants more. That is the spiritual side of you, that part of you that wants to express more, to experience more life, to do more, to be more, to have more. And when you want the same for everyone that you want for yourself, more love, more respect, more of every good, then the universe rewards you abundantly. Do you want to be happy? Act as if you're happy now. We live in a world, a universe of cause and effect. Emerson said cause and effect was the law of laws. What you put out comes back. Imagine what you put out comes back to you magnified. So you put out good, how much better your life would be. You put out loving energy, no matter what's going on around you, you will be rewarded with more love, more respect, more of every good that you desire, because we are all connected through a divine, intricate matrix that it would blow your mind if you even started to study about how vast this universe is. There is no beginning, there is no end to this infinite. And you can tap into that infinite just by calming your body, calming your mind. Whether you pray or meditate or ask for guidance, you are tapping into that infinite power. It doesn't matter if you're speaking to God, to infinite intelligence, to the Holy Spirit, or if you believe in any kind of religion at all, maybe you just tap into universal intelligence. There has to be a greater power, and that power is flowing to and through each one of us. You are an individual, and that power is undifferentiated energy until you give it meaning. Is your life purposeful? Are you expressing well-being? Are you looking for everything that's wrong? What you give your attention to is where the power goes. You have infinite potential. The spiritual side of you wants more. Your human body is the vehicle that you're using to do more, to be more, to have more. But your human body is not all that you are. You have an intellect, you can think, but there's so much more behind that. Tap into that beautiful divine energy. Allow yourself to sit still for a few minutes, turn off other distractions. Just take a deep breath in and let that go. I said in the beginning, I quoted Wallace Wattles, the desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. Maybe you were taught as a child that wanting more is selfish or there's not enough to go around. Well, let go of that. The universe is infinite. Divine, loving energy wants you to experience more, to be abundantly blessed, to do more for others. And as you do more for others, what you put out comes back to you. You don't want to put out negative energy of jealousy, hatred, or hoping something bad happens to another, because the law of cause and effect will bring back to you multiplied what your intentions are, what you're sending out. If the natural urge of life is to seek more, when you honestly attempt to leave everyone with the impression of increase, your life gets so much better. Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher says that they emphasize you must put yourself in harmony with the higher side of life, the higher side of your personality, and the higher side of everyone else's personality. Don't look at the negative in them. Look at what's good in the other person. If you can't see anything good, you're not tapped into that powerful divine energy that will bring back to you everything that you desire. What would you love for your life? You have to start by putting out that energy into the universe. Taking a deep breath in, sitting still, relaxing your central nervous system, relaxing your body. As you get calm, you start to find solutions to what you previously looked at as problems. You start to find opportunities that you missed in the past because you were so intent on looking at what was wrong. In the book, The Hidden Power, that I studied with Bob Proctor, this was a book written by Thomas Troward, and I'm going to read the chapter, The Spirit of Opulence. Do you know there are no limitations, there are no restrictions? The universe is always for expansion and fuller expression. And if you believe yourself to be part of this universe, allowing yourself to be more, to do more, express more is part of the universe's great plan. So here's what Thomas Troward says in The Spirit of Opulence. It is quite a mistake to suppose that we must restrict and stint ourselves in order to develop greater power or usefulness. This is to form the conception of the divine power as so limited that the best use we can make of it is by a policy of self-starvation, whether material or mental. Of course, if we believe that some form of self-starvation is necessary to our producing good work, then so long as we entertain this belief, the fact actually is so for us. Whatever is not of faith, that is not in accordance with our honest belief, is sin. And by acting contrary to what we really believe, we bring in a suggestion of opposition to the divine spirit, which must necessarily paralyze our efforts and surround us with a murky atmosphere of distrust and want of joy. But all this exists in and is produced by our own belief. And when we come to examine the grounds of this belief, we shall find that it rests upon an entire misapprehension of the nature of our own power. If we clearly realize that the creative power in ourselves is unlimited, then there is no reason for limiting the extent to which we may enjoy what we can create by means of it. Where we are drawing from the infinite, we need never be afraid of taking more than our share. That is not where the danger lies. The danger is in not sufficiently realizing our own richness and in looking upon externalized products of our creative power as being the true riches instead of the creative power of spirit itself. If we avoid this error, there is no need to limit ourselves in taking what we will from the infinite storehouse. All things are yours. And the way to avoid this error is by realizing that the true wealth is in identifying ourselves with the spirit of opulence. We must be opulent in our thought. Do not think money as such, for it is only one means of opulence, but think opulence. That is largely, generously, liberally, and you will find that the means of realizing this thought will flow to you from all quarters, whether as money or as 100 other things, not to be reckoned in cash. What if your life was really opulent? You felt abundantly blessed. What would that feel like? Thomas Troward says, we must not make ourselves dependent on any particular form of wealth or insist on it coming to us through some particular channel. That is at once to impose a limitation and to shut out other forms of wealth and to close other channels. But we must enter into the spirit of it. Now, the spirit is life. And throughout the universe, life ultimately consists in circulation, whether within the physical body of the individual or on the scale of the entire solar system. And circulation means a continual flowing around. And the spirit of opulence is no exception to this universal law of all life. When once this principle becomes clear to us, we shall see that our attention should be directed rather to the giving than the receiving. We must look upon ourselves not as misers' chests to be kept locked for our own benefit, but as centers of distribution. And the better we fulfill our function as such centers, the greater will be the corresponding inflow. If we choke the outlet, the current must slacken, and a full and free flow can be obtained only by keeping it open. The spirit of opulence, the opulent mode of thought, that is, consists in cultivating the feeling that we possess all sorts of riches which we can bestow upon others, and which we can bestow liberally, because by this very action, we open the way for still greater supplies to flow in. But you say, I'm short of money. I hardly know how to pay for necessities. What do I have to give? The answer is that we must always start from the point where we are. And if your wealth at the moment is not abundant on the material plane, you need not trouble to start on that plane. There are other sorts of wealth still more valuable on the spiritual and intellectual planes which you can give. And you can start from this point and practice the spirit of opulence, even though your bank account balance might be zero. And then the universal law of attraction will begin to assert itself. You will riot only begin to experience an inflow on the spiritual and intellectual planes, but it will extend itself to the material plane also. If you have realized the spirit of opulence, you cannot help drawing yourself material good as well as the higher wealth, which is not to be measured by a money standard. And because you truly understand the spirit of opulence, you will neither affect to despise this form of good, nor will you attribute it to a value that does not belong to it. But you will coordinate it with your other more interior forms of wealth so as to make it the material instrument in smoothing the way for their more perfect expression. Used thus with understanding of the relation which it bears to spiritual and intellectual wealth, material wealth becomes one of them, one with them, and is no more to be shunned and feared than it is to be sought for its own sake. It's not money, but the love of money that is the root of evil. And the spirit of opulence is precisely the attitude of mind which is furthest removed from the love of money for its own sake. It does not believe in money. What it does believe in is the generous feeling, which is the intuitive recognition of the great law of circulation, which does not in any undertaking make its first question, how much am I going to get by it? But how much am I going to do by it? In making this the first question, the getting will flow in with a generous profusion and with a spontaneous and rightness of direction that are absent when our first thought is of receiving only. We are not called upon to give what we have not yet got and to run into debt, but we are to give liberally of what we have, with the knowledge that by so doing, we are setting the law of circulation to work. And this law brings us greater and greater inflows of every kind, so our outgiving will increase, not by depriving ourselves of any expression of our own life that we may desire, but by finding that every expression makes us the more powerful instruments for expanding the life of others. Live and let live is the motto of the true opulence. When you fill yourself up with divine spiritual energy and you feel abundantly blessed in every regard, how much more can you do for others? Everything needs to circulate rather than holding on to every penny and looking at lack and limitation and worried about where the next dollar is coming from. Notice the abundance in the world around you, the abundance in nature. how abundantly blessed you feel when you do something good for another person, when you leave everyone feeling better because you're part of their experience. What if today you practiced being kind to everyone? Maybe you let someone in front of you in traffic. Maybe you hold the door open. Maybe you pay for the coffee order for the person behind you in line. Maybe you let the person in line behind you at the grocery store check out in front of you. Givers gain. It is based on the law that Emerson was the law of laws, the law of cause and effect. We are all spiritual beings, and spirit is always for expansion and further expression. It is never for disintegration. Any problem we have that causes us to go backward is the result of our individual or collective ways of negative thinking, thinking that there's not enough to go around, thinking that someone else has to do something in order for you to be nice to them or kind to them. If you look for the good in everything and forgive the rest, your life will just grow exponentially. More love will flow into your life because you're circulating more love. More money will circulate into your life because the whole world is for expansion and fuller expression. And the more you give with a full heart, not expecting anything in return, but giving from your generosity, you will be rewarded 100-fold. Now, you don't give in order to get, but as you give, the universe rewards you. That is the way the law of laws works. What you put out comes back to you. One of the ways Bob Proctor explained this to me is that everything must circulate. If blood is not circulating in your body, you disintegrate and die. If air is not circulating, well, we know what happens. If water doesn't circulate, it stagnates. If money doesn't circulate, it doesn't do you any good. Don't hoard things. Look for ways that you can bless other people. If you have clutter in your life, maybe you want to clean it up and donate things for people who are less fortunate. Maybe when you go out and buy things for yourself, you buy an extra gift for the less fortunate, or you provide money or a can of soup to your local church, charity, or food bank. There will always be people less fortunate than you. This is a season of giving. If you give from the heart and you give generously and you give without expectation, you will be amazed at how the universe rewards you. More life, more love, more understanding, more well-being, more calm confidence. If you understand that you are part of this universe, and the natural urge of nature is to expand. The natural urge of the universe is to expand. The natural urge in you is seeking expression and expansion. That's not selfish. That is expanding this world, this universe. What you do sends a ripple out into the universe. Make sure you're sending out good energy. You're filling yourself up first with divine spiritual energy, and it overflows into everything you do. When you come in contact, you will experience more life, more love, more of every good that is meant for you. Take a deep breath in. Let that go. Say thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this beautiful, abundant world. I am abundantly blessed. I am prosperous. I am part of this divine spiritual expansion. And then sit quietly ask for guidance, and go out and have a wonderfully, abundantly blessed day. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful morning mindfulness practice. I'll see you back here Monday morning at 7. Thank you.